Ladies and gentlemen, due to the warm weather, customers are reminded to stay hydrated and carry water while travelling today.
The next train to arrive at platform 2 will be the 10:21 cross-country service to Birmingham New Street. Going at Tamworth, Wilnecote and Birmingham New Street. This train is formed of 2 coaches.
It's about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, something like beyond 30 degrees Celsius today, so we're going to have a pretty sweaty and hot and tired sounding show with a lot of panting, mainly from me, because obviously I am quite a lot fatter than Chris is. But here we go. The first thing that jumped to your attention, Chris, on this, the Burton Mail on Tuesday the 11th of August, is not a story, but a spelling mistake.
Yes. Essentially, I'll quote the newspaper directly. Quote, as a small family business, we can leave her in charge of the business and know that everything is covered. They've spelt charge, CHWRGE, and this is perhaps evidence of the fact that a local newspaper has much fewer resources than a main national newspaper in terms of checking for spelling mistakes.
But also was probably typed on a very sweaty night, and the W is adjacent to the A on the keyboard, so we'll forgive the sweaty-fingered journalist for that, I suppose.
It's sort of diagonally adjacent. It's
because S is next to it.
Yeah, exactly. So
And caps lock on the left, I believe.
Yes.
So the first story, which seems like even more of a lie than the paper we've covered for the next episode, which I'm going to mention, is about it's a Chinese state newspaper written in English, distributed in Great Britain.
W.H. Smith.
We've found in W.H. Smith's, and this story seems as just as much of a lie as some of the stories we're going to be covering in that later in the week. So here we go. Storms on the way as the heat goes on. The rest of the week will see high temperatures and torrential downpours, with the Met Office issuing a 4-day weather alert, which came into force last night. A few days ago, the Met Office had predicted the storms would pass over the Midlands within about 2 days during the earlier part of the week. But the yellow weather warning had to be extended.
Bearing in mind, of course, that the weather warning has been in place now for about 24 hours. Considering that attending this meet-up today, I have bought an umbrella.
Based on those warnings?
Based on the predicted weather that was going to be unleashing itself upon...
And the sky is blue and there's not a cloud in the sky.
Not a cloud in the sky, it's boiling heat. I feel very inappropriately dressed for it almost, because we were attending in suits, and I've taken it all the way as I usually do. I'm committed to it. But
I've not. I've turned up in trainers and a shirt.
Yeah, and an NHS lanyard that seemingly exempts him from being accused of not wearing a face mask and things like that.
I didn't say it exactly like that, but hence. Knife intruder threatens an elderly woman in her home. Now, that sounds terrible, but if we read on, we were both discussing how we didn't quite understand the point of this story. A woman was threatened with a knife in her home in a Swaddling Coat Street. The man entered the house of the elderly victim on Woodyard Way, 9 p.m, Friday the 7th of August, and threatened her with a weapon. He demanded cash, car keys, which would seem like a straightforward robbery, but left empty-handed. And then there's a load of stuff about the police spokesman going on to say it was a horrible incident, can someone get in touch if they know anything. But a burglar broke in with a knife, threatened an elderly woman, but left with nothing. Now, it doesn't explain why that happened. So, do we have any theories?
I think that the victim in question probably just didn't hand anything over. But the interesting thing is that the police have described this as like a horrible incident. Well, it would have been even more horrible, surely, if something was actually stolen. The fact is, this woman has left with her belongings completely intact, with her dignity fully in situ, and this criminal has. Well, I mean, is he really that much of a criminal now? Because he hasn't thieved anything; he's just broken in.
Well, it's not so much that, is that this woman must have either been hard as nails and just completely refused and have been a complete stalwart of the community and just said no. But surely these things that he demanded, like money, they're easily found around the house.
So what he's essentially saying is that the woman who he's tried to rob has the potential to be an even greater criminal than he himself. Because at least she knows exactly what's going on, and she's not letting anything go of hers in terms of cash, in terms of car keys and things like that.
Well, Chris, the council's decision to spend £240,000 of taxpayers' cash on the turning of the former home of the Burton Mail, this very paper, into flats has been labelled unfair. The former Burton Mail offices in High Street are set to be transformed into commercial premises on the ground floor and 12 apartments, which would be classified as affordable homes, but affordable housing provision is not feasible in the private funding market, a report to East Staffordshire Borough Council said. So that's a massive mess.
Yeah, but it's not really untypical of the things that happen around this area. For example, a former pub in Lichfield has now been designated for remodelling as housing. And again, the taxpayers footing the bill for that.
Why?
I'm not entirely...
Your opinion?
Well, I think because the council, which is actually Conservative controlled, want to see people poorer, and you know, it doesn't really make any sense though, because all of the principles and values that the Conservative Party had in the 1980s, when it was at its electoral peak in modern times, have just been completely jettisoned in favour of this quasi-socialism that is advocated by Boris Johnson and things like that, that really doesn't do much for people who pay taxes.
Right. Widow paid out £13,000 for shoddy work on her roof. A grieving widow was left suffering panic attacks after handing over thousands of pounds to a cowboy builder for shoddy work. The Branston woman, who was asked not to be named, forked out £13,000 to the man after he told her the roof was in need of urgent repair. But he put on wrongly gauged tiles that were not properly secured, and 2 years on the roof started. And 2 years after, actually no, it's misprinted again. And 2 years the roof started leaking. I think it means 2 years on. But yeah, the spelling errors and grammar aside, what do you think about this story?
Well, it worked for the first 2 years, which begs the question: is it really just a wear and tear? I mean, how do we know that this property is not in a region that has been particularly badly damaged by storms or things like that? Admittedly, you could say he's done a bad job. He's probably fitted the wrong tiles. That's possibly true. But, I mean, what?
She was told the work would last 25 years.
25 years?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
That's how long the work should have lasted.
So why on earth would you pay anyone to do work over 25 years?
No. The work wouldn't last 25 years, but the quality of the work would withstand the weather for 25 years. Structural rigidity, etc.
That's only based on an average under test conditions. It's not based on particular circumstances. If you were in a hurricane, that wouldn't apply, would it? Because a hurricane, for example, is an exceptional circumstance. We have had tornadoes.
Yeah, but you could get insurance. You can get insurance for that. I don't think you can get insurance for this.
What, just like volcano insurance and things like that?
I mean, I don't know if home insurance covers dodgy builders or not. I'm not terribly sure about that. Obviously, we're the wrong generation to own homes, so we'll never know.
Yeah. I really. Has this paper got nothing else to cover than someone moaning about roof tiles that they've got.
A dad-to-be made the stupid decision to sell cannabis to help his parents have a good Christmas, a court heard. Jack Waring was only 19 and had sold just a small amount of cannabis before the police came knocking at his home in Castle Donington, just days before Christmas. Waring, now 20, has appeared at Leicester Magistrates Court to admit a single charge of possession with intent to supply the Class B drug. His solicitor told the court Mr. Waring felt under self-imposed pressure to do something special so his family could have a better Christmas.
To be honest, this sounds like a very sensible way of raising money to have a better Christmas.
Right.
I don't really see what the crime is. There's people who grow their own cannabis plants. I mean, I'm not in favour of...
But he sold it on to people. He didn't grow it for himself.
Hold on a minute. The more serious thing here is if he was growing it himself and then distributing it routinely. This guy did it as a one-off thing. And
So he says.
Yeah, but he's been penalised for a one-off event when people do this as a career. Now, that is completely duplicitous. And anyway, you shouldn't be arrested for possession or intent to supply cannabis because it's just another good or service. It's not really something...
What about the untold misery to millions?
Try saying the same thing to someone who smokes tobacco. I mean... What kind of misery are they inflicting upon people with asthma or people with lung conditions, like
and themselves?
Yeah,
but how does that justify marijuana, which is often smoked with tobacco in it, especially in Britain?
Which is the equal opposite, really, because I do not understand why cannabis is illegal.
It stinks.
So does tobacco.
It says on your charge of it being a one-off thing, various exhibits were seized from the defendant's bedroom, including £115 in cash, digital pocket scales.
Wow, so he made a ton load of money off that then, did he? £115?
Yeah, but it wasn't a one-off. You're not going to make £150 off a one-off sale of a bag of weed, are you? It says 3 bags of green vegetable matter. That's kind of vague.
It's 3 bags of weed.
No, green vegetable matter, not 3 bags of weed. Weighing scales and a number of dealers' bags.
Vegetable matter.
Well, yeah, I don't. Is a plant a vegetable? No, a vegetable's got a. Yeah, they're plants, but vegetables are different. They've got a bulb, haven't they? They've got a flowering
vegetable. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a flowering element which we consume. Whereas a fern or a leaf is not the same thing, or a weed.
We consume herbs.
Not that kind of weed. Yeah, but herbs aren't vegetables.
Right.
They're herbs. I'm just speculating on the terminology and not more than anything else.
Again, it's pointless. It's edible. It's consumable. Why is it illegal?
The untold misery to millions. Clearly there was a financial gain, and cases like this are borderline whether they should go to the Crown Court or not. But because the defendant...
That's escalated.
This to your defence, Chris. But because this defendant has no previous convictions, it is suitable to be heard in this court. Chris just pausing there to pour himself some Bulmers.
I think it's a bit of an escalation, to be honest, to send this to the Crown Court. It's, and you know, I just don't get it. I do not get it. A story about Christmas in August. It's rather the wrong time of the year.
Well, things take a long time to get to court, Chris.
What, 8 months? I mean, I know we've had the lockdown and everything, but 8 months? I mean, surely if this was detected in January, it'd have been...
Yeah, maybe it's because the journalist or the paper also smoke weed and suffer from the various types of mental illness that marijuana smoking causes, which tobacco doesn't.
Their grammatical errors would certainly indicate such a phenomenon.
Right, this is the juicy story, right? Vicar here to serve with chopsticks. A Church of England vicar... I mean, this story to me says all you need to know about the Church of England and why its flocks are fleeing over the fences. A Church of England vicar has tapped into her Chinese cultural heritage and is using chopsticks to give bread to parishioners. I didn't know that was a word, to be honest. During Holy Communion. Rev. Eileen Harrop, that's a really Chinese name, isn't it? Took an unusual approach to the challenge faced by clergy who are reopening churches for public worship while sticking to COVID-19 safety protocols. The vicar of St Mary's in Gainford at St Andrews in Winston and in County Durham, decided that the best way to administer the bread at the Eucharist was to use extra long-serving chopsticks. She has Chinese heritage, grew up in Singapore, so she's got Singapore heritage, and has an enduring love of Asian cuisine, so felt confident in using the utensils for the sacred act, and has carried out services using them at both churches she serves. She said, "Many of my parishioners were quite anxious at the thought of taking communion, even though we are only permitted to do so under strict guidelines to ensure that there is no chance of transmission of the virus. I thought, why can't I use a long pair of chopsticks, real bread, rather than wafers, and drop it into the communicant's hands? This is a way to ensure that there is no cross-contamination."
Says someone who is also Chinese.
Well, let's just leave that element of the story, Chris, but I was more focusing on the sheer campness of this.
Well,
'Cause it is very camp, do you see what I'm saying?
it is. It's rather like a 2 or 3 month storyline on Coronation Street where nothing much happens, but a big thing is made about it. I mean, what ultimately can I say about this? It proves that the Church of England is diverse and wonderful and lovely and great to be a part of. It shows that they have concern. Shows that they have concern for those who have been adversely affected by the coronavirus, which had its peak last year, not this year.
True. That's actually been confirmed by quite a lot of senior scientists that it probably peaked in late December to November.
So we're dealing with last year's news in a newspaper that
Again,
that has spelling mistakes galore in it, and whose editors probably never saw those mistakes. Hence why we were left with a substandard product.
it is only 80p though.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's probably 80p too much.
More than the sun.
Maybe it should get taken over by the Chinese state government, and then it might be of greater value and have less adverts in it, as we will get.
Well, Chris has just hinted again at our coverage of a Chinese state paper that we'll be covering later on in the week. So, the next story, Chris. Have a say on special needs. Parents, professionals, and people with an interest in educating children with special needs are invited to influence policy. A series of open house online focus groups are being staged to help develop Staffordshire County Council special education needs and disability services. Participants will review ideas and suggestions so far before the authority presents a SEND development strategy for formal public consultation in the autumn. Mark Sutton, Staffordshire County Council's cabinet member for children and young people, said, "In the last few years, the number of Staffordshire children with a special educational need or disability has risen severely to nearly 17,500.
I would hardly say that the increase in the number of disabilities among children is in any way something that is like a virus, even. You're either born that way or you're not. The fact that it's gone up, well, of course it's gone up because proportionally the population has gone up. And so the disabled population has proportionally risen with the overall population. But this is something that, what they're advocating is essentially that the parents and things like that should have a say in how their children are educated. Now, of course, what works at home will work at home, but I don't think that ought to dictate in any way the way in which they're taught at school.
Yeah, because educating as a collective is involves completely different methods.
Well, yeah, Yeah, but also the atmosphere is different. You act differently at school as you do at home. So, I mean, equally...
You don't masturbate at school, do you?
Well, that's one of the things.
Have you ever masturbated at school?
No, but I know someone who did.
Who was that?
I don't know his name, but he got frog marched up to the head teacher's office.
So he wasn't. He didn't just masturbate.
This is something worth elaborating.
It sounds like it.
We were standing literally one row of people there, another row of people there, and he was frog marched between us from the toilets to the head teacher's office.
How did he get caught if he was shut up? Because the only place I could think would be even remotely safe, and there's nowhere ever safe from other people's in a secondary school. Because
someone
must have been in a public not public toilet, in a toilet in a cubicle, but in school. Like where was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was in the main cubicle.
Someone ratted him out.
Someone ratted him. Yeah.
How did this person know he was masturbating? Did he peep over the top?
To be honest, I don't know. And I was only on the outside as a spectator to this event.
As a teacher, I wouldn't even want to get involved. I wouldn't.
I'm pretty sure it was one of the sort of the lunchtime staff.
Yeah.
We were milling around, and we weren't in lessons at the time. So I think it was one of the not the teaching staff, but the cleaning staff or whatever.
Yeah. It's just that I wouldn't want to get involved because of accusations of paedophilia.
Well, there is that. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know how it was ascertained that this person was masturbating in the pump.
But he's doing it by himself. Like he's not like if he was doing it publicly or something, that would be grotesque. But he did it in privacy, didn't he?
Yeah. Also beg the question as to, why do that at school? Why not just leave it until you go home? But that's evidently their choice.
Yeah, well, everyone's pretty. I don't know about girls, but most boys are pretty randy when they're in that sort of secondary school age. But yeah, I never did that. I don't know anyone that ever has either. I'm trying to find the next story, Chris, and I can't find it, Chris. We've got people listening to this, and we don't know where it is. No pain, big gain. Rare condition means OAP feels no discomfort. Could she help chronic pain? Scottish pensioner Jo Cameron is a medical phenomenon thanks to a rare genetic mutation. She is one of only 2 known people in the world to feel no pain.
I mean, I don't know how this can influence anyone else. This is specific to her and one other person. And it's most likely the result of some sort of paralysis. Or
right.
something like that.
Here's a question. This is a column about television. Is that Michaela Strachan in the middle? Because I've not seen her for years. Is that Michaela Strachan? Does that look like Michaela Strachan to you?
As you may well know, I'm not up to date with pop culture. However,
You don't need to be up to date. You need to be very behind with pop culture to know who Michaela Strachan is.
The woman on the right looks like a lesbian.
That's pretty judgmental, stereotypical, and misogynistic. But we'll move on to the star signs, Chris. Which the way we try and do this is I'll read you one that is your actual star sign, which I can never remember. What is your actual star sign? It is Aries, yeah. And I'm gonna read one, and you're gonna guess whether this one is actually your real star sign or isn't. Okay. Try to ignore what others are saying.
It's not.
Oh, you saw the first line of the.
It's not. I know where your eyes are.
What about now? Stop allowing others to tell you how to feel. Everyone knows that for a Taurian, home is where the heart is. I've already given it away, haven't I? Let's just do yours. Someone you thought was on your side is anything but. Try to remember this week what you wanted the end result to be. It is key to you feeling in control of your life and your future. It is clear that lockdown changed your sign. How it has changed you is up to you. Reach for the stars.
So that's just ripping off a hit single by S Club 7, was it?
Yeah, it was S Club 7. But also, that was Take Control. Your star sign's changing. I don't know what it is. So that one's pretty weird.
Is this rubbish about another star sign that has come about that they've just found, which actually doesn't exist?
Well, none of them do. Well, they're real constellations, but they've got no cosmic influence.
I can only imagine that this relates to the resignation of the party chairman of the Libertarian.
Let's leave that alone.
But we don't talk about politics.
No, we try and avoid it. It's a bit hard with all this coronavirus stuff. I'll read mine, and you can. We can just talk about it. Today, a red light turns to green. You may find it hard to believe, but you can, and you should. Oh, that's it. Acting quickly on what you want to achieve is key to you making an ordinary week into an extraordinary one. New skills are on offer for free. You'd be a fool to turn them down. Right?
This could relate to either the resumption of our meetups to do.
No, I didn't mean regarding us. I just meant as a statement. Like, what is it actually offering the reader?
Driving lessons.
Well, because I'm doing my theory test finally. Well, it's adverts and sport. Oh, I think we missed one actually. It was about. You said it was a bit of a double entendre. So here we go, yes. This one's where you can eat out to help out. Anyone looking to take advantage of the half-price food at restaurants this month in Burton or South Derbyshire can find a full list of participating eateries near them by going to our website. So this is the government scheme of, I believe, subsidising 50% of the profits that they'd normally... they'd normally, not the profits that they charge, so to encourage more people to go and eat out.
Yeah. The issue with this Eat Out to Help Out scheme is that it, if I were to eat out to help out, women will gain pleasure from that, and I don't really understand why that phraseology has been used for food in restaurants or anything like that, when the connotation is very sexual.
It is very sexual, and also it's also background. They could have just put eating out, but I suppose even that, even though slightly better, is still the same thing as what you're getting at.
Why not just go out to help out, or something like that?
Yeah. But no one's actually picked up on it.
What about consume to resume? As in, like, consume food to resume the economy. Why was that not considered?
It's got a shade to it. So this would be a time to divulge any knowledge you have on vaginal pleasures.
Well, I have
cunnilingus. That was the word I was looking for.
I have done that.
Yeah.
Not with the person I like.
No, but that doesn't matter. Just about the experience rather than who it was with.
Well, I mean, I suppose the experience is clouded by the person who it was with.
We're on about the physical things: odour, taste.
Well, we don't want to talk about that.
Touch, feel.
Do we want to talk about that?
Well, what about vaginas? We don't have to.
Well, as I said, the one vagina I have ever been in contact with.
Okay, well, we'll leave it there. Well, let's leave it there. Okay, that is the end of Tabloid Tuesday with Chris Wilkinson, and the rather disappointing Burton Mail. So thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.
Rather disappointing vagina as well.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Somebody help me, yeah. Somebody